Saturday night, August 31st, I had dropped my daughter with friends at a gathering that was for hostage families. I came home. John called me to our room when he heard me come in the house, and he handed me my book of Psalms, and he said, there's a rumor that there are 6 bodies that were discovered in a tunnel under Gaza, and the rumor is that one of them is Hersh, and it's time to pray. And then John got a call from representatives from America and Israel who said we're downstairs and they were going to be coming up. It was important to me to open the door before they got there, because the dread of hearing the knock on the door with such bad news was something that I didn't think I could bear.
And when they walked in, did you know?
We knew when they called.
They don't show up at your door at 4 o'clock in the morning with good news. And while we knew he was held captive in a war zone by a terror organization with one arm missing, somehow we had 330 days where we were optimistic and hopeful. We were just planning for his return. And of course, we knew there could be another outcome, but it basically had never entered our minds. And so there's the shock that we probably shouldn't be experiencing. We always should have been more conscious of this, but we didn't allow ourselves to be.
How do you walk through the rest of your life with a yearning and a missing of your child? I feel very much trapped and frozen in the extreme present.
Who do you blame for Hersh's death?
Let's be clear. On October 7th, Hamas committed a horrific massacre inside of Israel that included killing over 1,200 people. 45 of them, by the way, were American citizens. It included taking over 250 people hostage. They are still holding 101, and they are responsible for pulling the trigger that killed Hersh. But there are also plenty of world leaders in Israel, outside of Israel, who have failed to bring a solution to the massacre and the atrocity that was committed on October 7th.
We know that Hersh was being kept in a tunnel that was 60 feet underground with no electricity and no plumbing. It was 80 centimeters wide, which is 2 feet wide, just over 2 feet wide. It was just under 5'5". Hersh is almost 6 feet tall, just shy of 6 feet tall. So there wasn't room for him to stand up straight. There were bottles of dark urine everywhere in that tunnel because the 6 were so dehydrated, and they had to, anytime they had to go to the bathroom to urinate, they would go in bottles, and the bottles were just lining the walls, and there was a bucket at the end of the tunnel. They were all found 2 days after they were killed. They were killed sometime the evening of Thursday, August 29th. Ironically, we had been at the border with Gaza that morning with a whole group of hostage families screaming to our loved ones on huge amplified systems.
Hersh, it's Dada.
Hersh was found on his knees, frozen on his knees with his back against the wall. Remember, this is only 80 centimeters. He had put up his hands, you know, he only had one hand. He put up his arms to protect himself. He weighed 115 pounds, 53 kilo when we buried him. I mention all of this because I think that it's really critical that the world knows that that is how these hostages are being held. They are starving, and our beautiful 6 hostages were bullet-ridden, and all emaciated. And I think that it's important that people know that.
I want to bring up something that you said at Hersh's funeral that really struck me. You said that the hope that perhaps a deal was near was so authentic, it was crunchy, it tasted close, but it was not to be so. What gave you that sense?
Well, we had been told by a lot of the different people who were in or adjacent to the rooms where the decisions were being made that the plan that was on the table that was for all of the hostages, which was divided into different phases, was near. We heard it from people from several different countries, not one or two, but 3 or 4.
Including Israel?
Yes.
How do you make sense of that deal being so close and then weeks later, Hersh being killed?
It's one of the many things that we don't make sense of yet. I don't know that we ever will.
How do you want the world to remember Hersh?
Hersh was extremely curious, and he left so much room. He loved to ask questions, and then he would really leave these giant bubbles of quiet so that you had a lot of comfort and time to answer. He really had wide-eyed, innocent, young belief in people being able to work out their differences. He really believed in coexistence. He really believed that peace would be very hard, but that it could be possible. And he didn't make it into that kind of utopian kind of peace that we're all going to be best friends and live next door to each other, but the absence of so much hostility was something he felt was something that could happen. And he was really a lovely, gentle person.
From a very young age, Hersh asked a lot of questions. He didn't accept the world for what it was. At a relatively young age, he was raising to us this notion of nation states. The way the world is run as we know it. Is it good for the world? Is there a better way for the world to be run than the nation state model that we know? So one thing I would say to people is, in Hersh's memory, probe, ask questions. And the second side of that is listen and try to understand other people's views and answers. You don't have to agree, you don't have to accept them, but he always made that space for trying to understand. And if we can get everybody to do a little bit of that, that's a big part of this revolution for good.
And to reduce all of the suffering that this whole region is enduring right now. We are not alone in having lost. There are thousands of people in Israel who have lost people. There are thousands and thousands of people in Gaza who have lost people. There is a surplus of so much agony, and it would be great to have someone brave enough to say, let's start to take the baby steps necessary to reduce this misery that we all are enduring. We didn't get him back the way that we wanted him back, but we did get him back. And we did give him a proper Jewish burial, which was extremely important to us. And so we want to be careful and gentle and sensitive, and yet still be advocating for the remaining 101 who are there. Hersh was our universe. I said that from day one. He's our universe, and I acknowledge that he's not everyone's universe. And I did appreciate people who held our hands and cried with us, but it was very clear that He was expendable. To everyone but us.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.